Hello, it is the time of year again when every crocheter or knitter shows you everything they have made in the past year. And now that's what I'm gonna do too. I did nothing to my face, I just washed it and I just brushed my teeth and I put on a dress that I can throw on anything else that I've made so that I do not have to make any outfit changes constantly. I have not really prepared like a proper intro, except that, you know, you read the title, you know what's gonna go down. I'm gonna show you everything I've made this year, knitting and crochet wise. Now the last video I made was pretty popular. It had like 33,000 views, I think, which is impressive for me. I am very unprepared for this video because I have barely anything I've made on the clothing rack, which was my original plan. But I did write down everything that I've made in this notebook right here. And I'd say we just get on with the video. Now, the way this is gonna go is I'm just gonna talk about everything and show you everything like this. And then there's also gonna be inserts of me wearing everything so you get a full picture. Isn't that nice? It's the 31st of December today, which means tomorrow it's 2022. And if everything goes right, I'm uploading this today before New Year's, or like on New Year's Eve. Now, the first thing we're gonna start off with, this is not in a particular order, by the way, because as I'm reading my list, some of the stuff is still downstairs. We're gonna start off with my sleeve bolero / little cardigan. Now, this little thing here is, I think, my first big knit project that I bought a pattern for. Before these two, I had made a couple of vests, but those were free from YouTube. This was the first time actually purchasing a pattern, and it's a pattern by Tiffany Lou, Typical Bliss on Instagram. She is a pretty popular knitting creator, and she makes amazing stuff. She's obsessed with petite knit just like everybody else, but she knits at this insane speed. She just makes so much stuff. She also filmed the video and I want to see it because I want an overview of everything that she's made this year. I made this pattern that she has. It's, I think, called like the Midsummer Cardigan or something like that, and it's a recreation, I believe. I don't know of what brand, but it's basically more sleeve than cardigan. That's like the whole thing. So that's why it's like a summer thing. She did make the sleeves much longer to make them even more of a statement piece, but I did not do that. I just left them at like a proper length. This is 100% acrylic yarn I used. It's probably the cheapest yarn you can find anywhere because it's from this kind of like dollar store type store. It is in a rib stitch, so 2x2 stockinette and purl throughout the entire thing. The sleeves taper and they were sewn onto the body afterwards. I must say it took forever for these sleeves. It took forever, but like really. But I'm so happy with the outcome of it. So that's the first thing I have. The second thing I have here is definitely, this thing was definitely my most challenging crochet piece I have ever made. It's from the Drops website, Drops Yarn. It's like a magazine, but they have like a lot of free patterns. And so I'm very proud of this. This is a poncho. The gauge is definitely off because it falls so much bigger on me than it should, because when I put it on, the neckline actually goes up to here, the V-line, but if I would wear it on the seams, that would be below my boobs. So I sewed it up to here, so the gauge is definitely off. It's also, you know, it's just way too big overall. And I also struggled so much with reading the pattern because I had never read a graph before for crochet. So this was a very cool first time project, a repeating pattern of these flowers, the small ones, and then these really big ones. It could be a very old-fashioned table runner, or it could be a very Stevie Nicks-y, hippie-ish poncho. And I think I want to call it that. I think I want to call it the Stevie Nicks-ish poncho. I love it. Very fancy. It's very cool. I wanted to wear this on a beach, but then my entire country flooded during summer, so I didn't end up wearing it anywhere. So this is just something I like to run around with in my house. But I do feel very fancy wearing it. I can hear my mom's alarm clock going off like for 5 minutes, so I'm gonna turn it off. Hold on. Kind of out of breath from running up the stairs. But while I was downstairs, I'm gonna keep the poncho on. While I was downstairs, I decided to grab everything I had from like outdoor wear or like gloves and accessories. And I have 3 things for that. Now, the first thing I have is the November balaclava by Petite Knit. It was my first time making something like this. It was also my first time trying brioche stitch / fisherman rib. The increasing on this side looks fine. I would say it splits nicely, but on this side it's like a mess. Now I must say it's not the best design, I would say. It doesn't keep me warm at all. But this was right around the time when I had seen balaclavas for the first time. They weren't popular or anything yet. I just saw them and I thought I wanted to make something like that because I have some weird hats. So I am a hat gal. I'm not gonna try this on now because I have the headband in and I don't feel like it. But it doesn't cover your face too much and it kind of falls off your head. So if I were to remake this, I would definitely add more coverage to my chin and my forehead because right now it comes up to here. I did make one of these for a baby we have in the family. So added bear ears to it because my mom made me do that because she thought it would be more fun for the baby. Now the next thing is ridiculous. It's so easy to make, but I do sell a pattern for this because it was like a freehand thing I made, and then I thought, hey, I could make a pattern out of this, and people have actually bought quite a few of them, and I'm really happy with it. It's no BB button, a balaclava pattern kind of vibe, but I did get a couple of orders on it. And it is this ear warmer bonnet thing. It looks really stupid right now. People think it looks stupid anyways, but I love it. I have a couple of pictures here. Yeah, for these I'm just gonna add Instagram pictures. I'm not gonna model it for you. But I like this because I ride my bike to school and hats are too hot, but when I take them off, my ears start hurting because of the cold. So I thought if I just make this like an ear muffler or an ear warmer, my ears are warm, but the back of my head doesn't get absolutely sweaty because it's not covered. And I like it. I do wear it to school. Next project. This is probably the thing I've worn the most and also adore the most. I don't know why, because they're so simple, but they're mittens. And these mittens were from a pattern I found on YouTube. I don't remember which one. I did make some adjustments to it, according like the length and stuff. But what I like so much about these is not only the color, which is a lot more vibrant in real life. Mohair is kind of like this tinsel, kind of glittery yarn that is weaved into it. And these are like kind of special to me because I made them when I was in Sweden with my cousin. Because I bought this yarn in a kind of a Goodwill, and they had this yarn and I just thought it was really cool and it could kind of like count as a souvenir for me. So I bought the yarn. It was really cheap and I really like it. It keeps me very warm. The glitter is kind of getting felted together. You can't really see it. But I looked up the yarn and it's a Danish brand, but it's no longer sold. So it was truly like vintage 80s yarn. That's why I liked it. Let's look at what's next on the list. Now let's start with the first thing, which is also my very first knitting project ever. That's not like a scarf. And it's this knitted vest by Mina Knits, or Mina. It's very simple to follow. It's a 3-part tutorial, and I was very happy with this. It was my first ever vest that I made. Now I didn't want to make the entire front in this burnt orange, but I ran out, so I started adding irregular stripes with even different kinds of burnt orange to kind of make it look like done on purpose. And then after I finished that project, I got really obsessed with it, and in my aesthetics class, which is like my 1 hour a week art class, or this big exam project, and everybody could do anything with any art piece with any artist from the 20th century. And I chose David Hockney, and I really challenged myself to make a vest based on a David Hockney painting. And I used, again, the same pattern, but just, as you can see, in a smaller version. And I actually don't know why I don't wear this more, because I absolutely love it, actually. And the back is a bigger splash by David Hockney. I'm actually still really proud of this, because this was my second knitting project. But I did not do Antarsia because I still don't know how to do Antarsia and I do not have the patience for that. You kind of embroider it on in the shape of stockinette stitch. So that's what it looks like. Still very proud of the project and I got a very, very, very good grade on it. She praised my originality, but you know, I'm a show off when it comes to that kind of stuff, so makes sense that I made something like that. Now y'all remember this baby. Never worn it. It's extremely hot and there are so many loose ends. I've sewed in every single one, but they are everywhere, everywhere. They are my crocheted pants, my granny square pants. I saw them on Pinterest one day. I made an entire video on this, excuse me, that I will link in my bio or like whatever, or like recommended. I don't know how to do that, but so I made pants and they're very heavy because they're not cotton, they're acrylic. The granny squares vary in patterns and I sewed them together, crocheting them together so you see the seam because that was an artistic choice. But I still like the color combination. I just think if I would ever make something as big and stupid like this again, I would use cotton. Just if you ever want to make crochet pants, you know. The next two things I have are probably my most prized possessions, together with my fisherman sweater that I made last year. But these are both petite knit patterns, once again. Tiffany Lou got me into the petite knit flow obsession, addiction, money spending, menace. But let's start off with the first one I made. So this was my first official knit sweater that I actually started wearing to school. So it's my first ever project. There's still some loose ends, as you can see, but that's because I redid the ribbing last night on the bottom. Because first it was a 1x1 ribbing, but it looked absolutely horrible because I was still pretty bad at ribbing, especially with such chunky yarn. So I now did a 1x2 ribbing. I did use the wrong needle size here at the top up to here, which you can see, like the stitching is much tighter, but it was also my first ever project using raglan. It's just one single stripe of raglan, or I don't know how you would describe it. But this is also a color combination that I almost never wear, or like I have no pastels in my closet, but I did kind of like this. It's also very comfortable. The only thing, because it is such cheap yarn, I'm very scared it's gonna pill very fast, and I don't love that. It was also my first time using double pointed needles. So yeah, we're gonna redo these one day. But I do love it and I do wear it quite a lot. And then my latest magnum opus, my creation. I've been spending 3 months on this. Again, the cheapest yarn ever. If I would have realized that I would love this sweater this much, I would have spent more money on good yarn, but I didn't. But it is the Louvre sweater by Petite Knit. Definitely my most time-consuming project so far. Also my biggest project so far. I spent so much time on it. I finished it like 4 days ago. Sleeves are a little tapered. It's fully in stockinette, and then the wrists and in 1x1 ribbing, and the neck as well, and then the bottom as well. The neck is done with raglan, but now 2 stitches instead of 1 with the other one. What I do really love about this is that the collar does not fold like the other sweater. I did post like 3 different posts about this sweater because it was taking so long and I wanted to post stuff about it, but I love it. Very proud of my work. Very even stitching and all that. I have 2 more things that I have made for myself, and the first one is not finished yet. I just realized that. But it was my first ever freehand knit project, and it is this, it looks so tiny. It's this knit vest again, but like a cropped up version, because I saw inspiration I took inspiration from Lapin Lapin, and then I also took inspiration from this Pinterest picture. But I freehanded a crop top and I measured everything exactly compared to another crop top that I have, but it still ended up too short. It looks very tiny, but it stretches a lot everything because I do fit in it, but I just haven't blocked it yet so that it permanently stays this big. So currently it just looks like a baby t-shirt. I love this yarn so much. It's the German brand. I don't have the name of it anywhere, but it's this Mohair mossy yarn, and it has like different, some of the hairs are lighter than the other, and it's really like moss, and then the other one is just mohair white wool. And I kind of did something like, you know, when you have ribbing at the bottom of a project, I wanted to make something striped, but then I thought, why not, you know, continue the stripes every time I use something green? So I thought that was a fun detail. So I ran downstairs to get the last thing I have, and it's this very floppy bucket hat I made with the leftovers from this yarn. Or no, it's not the same one. No, this is made with leftover yarn that I used for this bag for my aunt. I forgot about that bag. Good that I think of it now. Okay, it's a very floppy bucket hat. Can't really wear it, but looks cute. Looks a bit like a cloche. It's the same pattern as this over here, and I do kind of like it. And then the last thing I made, this was the hat that I made for my boyfriend. I attempted to crochet a fish onto it, but you don't really see it. But I crocheted this kind of fisherman beanie, but it's a bit too big, so I'm gonna take out a couple of rows. Not the most interesting work, but it needed to be done on time for Christmas. And then to match the fish on the hat, I also gave him a taxidermy blowfish or puffer fish. So yeah, I do think it looks kind of good. It looks good. Okay, I decided to not add the sewing project into the video because it's almost finished and I do want to devote an entire video to it, or at least this part of the costume. So I'm gonna add that in another video. I'm sorry, I just want to start editing and it's getting really dark because winter time in Europe, you know, am I right? If you have any questions, I will definitely answer them for you. I will leave as many patterns as possible in the description. I will also link videos in the description that match some of these projects. I will do as a little closing act is show you two kinds of yarn that I've gotten for projects that I have in my mind. The first is this Scheepjes yarn. It's a Dutch brand of yarn, and it is very thin, but it's this glittery blue mohair that I think is absolutely beautiful. My boyfriend got me a bunch of yarn from a knitting cafe actually close by where I live, but I wanted to be honest with him, and I said I'm not gonna really use these colors. So we went back to the store and we found something that I think I would use more. Let me put the light on this, maybe you can see the glitter better if I do that. Not really, but it was beautiful. I'm making the Rigmore tee by Petite Knit with this, but she uses 3.5mm needles for this, and I just bought 3mm needles because I was convinced that my short needles I have, like little ones for like sleeves and stuff, were also 3mm, but they turned out to be 3.5, and I do not want to go back and buy more needles. So I'm gonna kind of have to figure out what I'm gonna do with them. And then the other type of yarn I got is the anti-pilling acrylic, like this one, but much thinner and in moss green because I love mossy green. And I bought this because I saw the movie Lady Bird. She was wearing, when she was working in that cafe, she wore this scoop neck sweater with a low back and 3/4 sleeves, and was mohair, and I thought it was so freaking beautiful. I keep burping, don't know why, but I thought it was so freaking beautiful, and when I saw the yarn in the store, I just impulsively bought it. I do not have any idea how I'm gonna make that sweater, with what pattern. Maybe I'm gonna generate my own pattern on Bellish. Those are two things you're gonna have to look out for on my channel in the future. So I hope you liked this video, and now it's up to me to go and film all of the in-between shots of me trying on everything. Ooh, it's a lot. It's like 4 p.m. now, or like 3:30, and I have to edit everything still. Luckily my iPad is charged. Okay, I hope you enjoyed this video. Please look out for the next video. That's gonna be a sewing video. It's almost, the thing I am sewing is almost finished. It's like right here, that's why I keep pointing. I hope it's gonna be finished pretty soon so I can edit that as well. It's also a project that I've been working on for almost a year, so the next addition to the full piece is gonna be here, and I hope you will enjoy it, and I hope you kind of enjoyed this video. And if you'll excuse me, I'm going to watch all of the other creators What I Knit in 2021 videos right now. So consider subscribing, and I will see you the next time. Bye!